he's not openly saying that he's going to 147 pounds if he wins, but he's also not saying that he's going to fight his mandatory Sergey Lipinets if he wins. You know, so from my understanding, and he even did say it at the press conference for his last fight against Félix Díaz, is that he was thinking about going to 147 by the end of this year. And, well, you know, we're in August. In fact, right now, it's August the 18th, 2017. T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. And on ESPN, in fact, you'll be able to watch the entire card. If you have ESPN, you'll be able to watch the entire card on the ESPN app. I'm talking about the undercard. The Nicholas Walters, by the way, is not on the card anymore. He got sick. I don't know why he's around his sick family or whatever the case may be. I think something like the flu, whatever the case may be. He's not on the card, but you got Mike Alvarado, you got Brian Jennings, you got Dylan White, you got Shakur Stevenson, you know, Mike Reed. You know, it's a solid card of showcase fights all the way up until, you know, the main event. And you also got Alexander Grovesdick on the card. You know, so I like the card, especially like with the mixture of talent and that you'll be able to watch the entire card. So it's going to be on ESPN tomorrow starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, meaning the main event. The undercards are going to start, what, about like 7 p.m., 6 p.m., about 7 p.m., you know, or so. And hold on, I'm trying to make sure I get the weights. The weights. Here's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, okay, Crawford is the WBC, the WBO, and the ring. And Indongo got that, you know, IBF title from Troyanovsky in that first round knockout. He got the WBA title by beating Ricky Burns over in Scotland. And he became a unified champion. And he was talking about the press conference how he became a unified champion after never fighting for none of those, like, underling belts. Like, you know, those regional titles or those intercontinental, those international titles, you know. And, you know, that's a pretty, you know, solid accomplishment. But one big thing about Julius Indongo is you don't know who he is because there's no footage out there. So we're still, you know, trying to find out who he is as a fighter because it's just not enough footage out there. So looking at his resume now, he is tall, closer to 6 foot. He's listed at 5'10", 5'10.5". He's 22-0 with 11 KOs outside of that Troyanovsky first round brutal knockout. And it was you know, dude had like a little spasm while he was down there. He's not known to be like a knockout like fighter. And if you look at the fights that on his resume, you know, he hasn't fought outside of his homeland for the most part until he went over to Moscow to fight Troyanovsky. Then he went over to Glasgow in Scotland, and now here he is in Lincoln, Nebraska. But, you know, people are not, it's like this, right? It's people are rooting for him as far as like he a cool dude and everything, but they're not betting against Terence Crawford. And you would be foolish too. One thing about Terence Crawford, though, as we've learned, you know, throughout his fights, is he's not afraid to test his chin. But also, you know, he's a very good, you know, and it's no, you know, getting around it, very good fighter in regards to he can fight you right-handed, you know, and majority of his last several fights, he's been beating his opponent southpaw. You know, especially when he's dealing with a southpaw fighter, he takes that southpaw advantage away from you. And just so happened, Julius Indongo is a southpaw. But with the little bit of content that we have on Julius Indongo, by the way, Indongo weighed in at 140, Terence Crawford 139. We know that Julius Indongo fights tall, you know, and he can start off, you know, looking to be aggressive. But remember, there's no, you know, like footage. There's not enough footage, you know. So this is a major test, and win or loss, we should find out who he is as a fighter going forward and how he matches up against other fighters in 140 or if he moves to 147. Because right now, you know, it's not even known what weight divisions he was fighting at. You know? Like, he fought a guy who was, like, this Julius Indongo came out of nowhere, and he's 34 years old. So, if Terence Crawford wins, he'll vacate all the titles. Then all those titles will be food, sacred food, for likely Al Haymon fighters, who is probably, you know, Al Haymon is most likely positioning his fighters right now for those titles, you know, if Terence Crawford wins. If Julius Indongo wins, we don't know. You know, he's going, you know, everybody's going to be after him. But if he wins, I'm sure it'll probably be a Terence Crawford rematch, right? Depending on how it happens. But can you imagine that? Him beating Terence Crawford? Another thing about Terence Crawford is, you know, defensively, he is good. Don't get me wrong. He's good offensively. But sometimes, you know, he leaves his chin out there too much, you know, and he be getting tagged up. Even remember, the smaller fighter, Yuriorkis Gamboa, you know, like was tagging him up at the beginning of the fight and cracked him and had him on, like, you know, on the back foot, shaky legs for a little while. Not nothing like crazy, like, you know, but it's just, you know, he got his attention. So I'm wondering, you know, like if he moves to 147, I would think that he would be on the smaller end of a 147-pounder, right? On the smaller, and especially as his body's going to be adjusting. So he's talking about that when he goes to 147, he don't want no tune-ups or nothing. You know, he wants to go straight for the top man. And right now, the top person is Keith Thurman. But there's a long line to get to Keith Thurman right now. You know, it's supposed to be a rematch clause with Danny Garcia, you know what I mean, for Keith Thurman. And then you got Sean Porter, who's that mandatory. Both of those fights fans want to see. Well, no, not necessarily the rematch with Danny Garcia. But as time goes on, it may grow on people like, oh, okay, he's fighting Danny Garcia again. And then if Terence Crawford was to go on, but I'm sure that if Terence Crawford moves to 147, the WBO, you know, will definitely make him the mandatory for Pacquiao Horn. I'm still not confident he would get Pacquiao. I'm still not confident they would do that to Pacquiao. You know, especially as Pacquiao's on his last legs and on his way out the, you know, or at least we don't know. It seems as though, you know, they probably Top Rank probably gonna have him fighting until he's 50. You know, so I'm really interested in seeing like how this card plays out, especially what the ratings are going to be. In fact, All Access is about to come on now, but let me go check on ESPN for tomorrow and see what's going on tomorrow night, and hopefully we don't run into a situation like we did with you know, the Lomachenko fight where we was waiting. You know, hold up, how do I do this? Fast forward a day. Yeah, it worked. Like, we was waiting until, like, 12:30, 1 o'clock watching the Lomachenko fight because the NFL Hall of Fame speeches was long as fuck. You know, so the card's supposed to start at 10 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time, right? And then it's the Little League World Series Elimination Game, 12 teams to be announced tomorrow from 8 to 10. So let's hope that shit don't run over, or they move that shit over to ESPN2 and make sure the Crawford and Indongo card, the televised card, starts on time, because I want to see what these ratings are going to be, especially since this is going to be the first undisputed championship fight since 2005. And in this era, to be undisputed, you have to have the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. It is still kind of shady, or kind of shady information, not shady, but, you know, unclear information on if the IBO title is on or not, because I see, like, you know, Matchroom is saying that it is on their social media. Sky Sports saying it is on their social media. And I believe I saw it on, like, Top Rank social media as well. So I go over to the IBO website, and it's like, my God, that shit is a mess. You know, so does anybody know if the IBO, I'm talking about for sure, no. You know, that if the IBO, the highly coveted and lucrative, by the way, IBO title is on the line? Because it's looking like it's not, or maybe it is on the line, but if you look at the website, Julius Indongo is not listed as the champion. And I was hearing something about, like, the fighters didn't want to pay the sanctioning fee for that belt, even though they had to pay the sanctioning fees for the other titles, which is four titles, by the way, you got to pay sanctioning fees for, you know. So I don't know. It's kind of it's a situation that I want to, you know, get some clarification on, because he won the IBO title when he fought Ricky Burns, but it's not listed as being on, like, it's, you know, it's a mixture of information, you know. But anyway, I'm T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box.